Welcome to the Big Biz Show.
Taking care of business.
You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now, Captain Finance himself, Sully.
That's right. It is the Big Biz Show. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, we certainly appreciate you being along with us for this program. Costa, Mary, Godwin, Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully.
Hey there.
Captain Finance himself.
Okay, I have a question. Greg,
Yes.
you and I met, and this has to do with the three of us, okay? We were on the air. You're on 1360 X.
Stay out of it,
Sports,
Mary.
1360 Fox Sports something.
Yep.
I was on News Radio 600 Kogo. You were head of sales. Was your main category solar at any time? Did it feel like it felt like we?
Well, I think that
I felt like I was seeing nothing but solar ads.
Oh, I think yes. I think when those incentives came out, when those tax incentives came out,
right.
all of a sudden you had 1 million of those companies pop up.
How many endorsements did you do? I did. Well, he gave me solar lines.
Solar, turf, LASIK, erectile dysfunction. No,
You took an endorsement for erectile dysfunction?
no, because I said ED. I have no idea what that means, but you might. No, not erectile dysfunction, but yeah, solar. It was solar, turf, like LASIK.
Well, solar was so front and center for so many years because of that, and and of course, here comes Howie Font, our lead analyst, to talk about that very thing. Because I don't know if I'm a believer that solar is changing the world.
Do you have solar at your house?
I do not.
See, we have a mid-century modern split level roof, and they're flat. So we are like.
So you're like the 1960s.
Pretty much. So
Ranch house.
we should have solar, but we don't, because I'm like you. I want to ask someone, and maybe someone who's in solar, maybe Howie knows. If I put solar on, can I run the air conditioning 24/7 during the summer or whenever it's hot?
No.
That's all I want. That is all I want. I don't care about the environment. Don't care if we're saving whatever. I just want AC 24/7 when I'm
Big
hot.
surprise there.
I think the answer
I think that's really fair to say, hey, I want to be able to rely on energy when I need it. So
Yeah.
I think the right question to start with. The answer from JPMorgan this week is no.
That's just great, Hal.
Dang.
So there was a really important annual energy paper that JPMorgan does, and it was really a really interesting write-up because there has been so many subsidies, and the cost of solar panels has gone down, and the efficiency's gone up, and that's all true. But we still are at this point where final total energy consumption for solar energy is only at 2%. We think it's going to go to like 4.5% by the end of 2027.
You know, it's interesting. So
it's ramping up, but it's still very small levels. And just to answer Mike's point, and then I'll let you guys discuss, is it's not reliable enough during periods of load. And
Well, but isn't there also, look at Germany leads the league, so to speak, in solar technology. It always has. Is it just the load, or is it also the fact that we can't store it? I mean, look at you. We've got, two of our rainy days out of the 365 today.
Yes.
Or
Yeah, pretty
yesterday
much.
today. Can you store the sunshine that was so beautiful last Friday?
well, that's the next big business. That's actually happening. There are tons of spaces in New York City, blocks in Manhattan, that are renting out Olympic-sized pool areas where they're putting battery farms. Australia is doing battery farms in a very big way. So that can happen. But the issue is there's just not enough sunshine. There's enough sunshine in Florida. There's enough sunshine in California if you do it in the right places. The New England, Germany, these are not economically viable places to do solar. Even though the sun is shining all the time, it's not bright enough and it's not consistent enough, and there's too much cloud and UK weather, all the like. Yeah.
Yeah, Howie, why places like Arizona, our deserts here, don't have it is beyond me. But again, I just want AC.
Well, stay there, because I'm going to tell you
I don't
why.
care about the Earth.
I don't know. Again, I was talking about this philosophy last night with a friend of mine. I said, "Have you played the videotape out to the end of the Have you played the videotape out all the way to the end?"
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you why you don't want to get rid of oil. Because if you play the videotape out to the end, This.
Wherever you are watching, wherever you're listening, everybody with this fun Big Biz show, thanks you for being along for the ride. Of course, the guys up on stage, that is the world famous Day Trader Trio. We got him here every single show. I'm Costa, Mary Godwin, Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully.
And of course, what we really have here is Brandon Robinson's back. Brandon Robinson, of course, is the founder and CEO of Horizon Aircraft, HOVR. HOVR is the stock symbol. The reason we do this is because me and Mike and Greg and Mary geek out on this every time.
I want to go on a ride right now.
Well, one thing we didn't talk about, Brandon, great to see you, bud. We never talked about your press release about a month ago about this propulsion expert guy. So I'm digging, because I'm always looking at numbers. I'm always looking at your geeking out on the vehicle, but I'm not talking about the guys behind it. Can you go through again, because you're an ex-fighter pilot. You have a whole group of people that have been born and raised in this thing. Talk about the propulsion expert and why that's such a cool thing, because that's a big, big deal for you guys.
Well, I mean, we're fortunate. We've managed to bring on the team world-class folks, right? So John Wizakowski is a great example, world-class propulsion expert, basically architecting the entire propulsion system from the hybrid engine all the way through to the electrical engines that kind of drive the vertical lift system. He's done so on multiple occasions. He is a top 10 person in the world, and we're extremely lucky to have him on board. We have a few more of those coming as well.
Your team that you chose from the very beginning kind of had to have a long-term vision, Brandon. And I think, when you enter into the space that you're in, even though it's sort of something that you live and breathe every day for your entire life at that point, to sort of transition that to the thoughts and minds of the people that go to work for you, and then of course investors. That had to be a big deal. When you guys were first starting out, what was that like when you were sort of mining all that human capital and that talent?
Well, that's a great question. And so we took a little bit of a different spin on it. We saw a lot of companies forming, in Silicon Valley and out of university think tanks. We were a group of practical pilots. I flew jets in the Air Force, like you said, for almost 2 decades. My father has been, chief engineer, has been flying airplanes and fixing them and yelling at them for the last, half a century. So we, we're a bunch of practical folks, practical pilots, practical engineers, operational folks. And we wanted to design a product that was laser focused on the end user. And so a machine that could be safe, could make money in the real world. And I think that set us apart sort of early on in the, in the evolution of the company. And we've been really proud about that, and the proof is in the pudding, right? So all of the different folks that are reaching out now appreciate the different layers of safety and operational redundancy and performance aspects that we built into the system.
Brandon Robinson, founder, CEO, Horizon Aircraft. Their ticker symbol is HOVR. So Brandon, do you go to propulsionexpert.cc, or, I would assume that someone of that category and that level of expertise probably has everybody in a lot of different disciplines coming after them to join their team?
Yeah, so very fortunately, we brought on just a genius chief technical officer, Tom Brassington, in the space, who is very senior in Lilium, actually, and then reached out to us and said, listen, your design makes the most sense that we've seen. I'd like to join. And with that kind of genius level sort of technical expertise comes a great network. And John Wizakowski and Tom worked together over the years. And John learned about Horizon Aircraft and actually reached out to us and had a really hard look at the airplane and said, yeah, this actually makes a huge amount of sense. I believe in the technology. I would like to work for you folks. And of course, when someone, top 10 in the world reaches out, we're not going to say no. And we were actively looking, and John knew that. And we're just extremely fortunate to have someone like that on board.
Brandon, what altitude will this thing fly?
So another great question. It'll fly less than 10,000 feet. The average flight will be between probably 5,000 and 8,000 feet, utilizing the kind of low-level airspace, less crowded than the higher-level airspace. And it really only needs to travel at that altitude to make a huge amount of difference.
Hey, Brandon, we talked about commercialization last time you were on there with us, but we didn't kind of delve into certification. And entry into certification process for something like this. What is that like? We've never even delved into that. When I think about a biotech company, you're thinking about FDA. think about you guys were talking about FAA in terms of U.S. and whatever else, whatever other governing bodies are across the world. What does that journey look like to you guys?
So we're north of the border. We're a Canadian company. So we'll certify under Transport Canada Civil Aviation, TCCA. That's the equivalent of the FAA, but up in Canada. So think smaller, leaner, more agile version of the FAA, and they're not inundated with thousands of different companies trying to certify new aircraft. So we get a lot of attention. They're also experts in vertical propulsion, if that makes sense, so certification of helicopters. And we're also lucky enough to have Certification Center Canada on board with us. So John Maris, the founder and CEO of Certification Center Canada, basically is a company built out of all the best certification people from around North America, founded in sort of one company. John is on our board of directors, and we're lucky enough to have them on board to create a plan and to liaise with our Transport Canada Civil Aviation folks up here to construct a really smart certification plan. And so that's well underway, and we're pretty lucky to have the connections that we have.
Brandon, I think as we speak, we are amassing troops along the northern border, ready to invade Canada. But in all seriousness, are the tariffs affecting you guys at all? I'm sure you have, you do business with other countries and things like that. But does the United States and what's going on currently, and I hope it ends very, very soon because we love Canada. Does it affect you adversely?
Although we blame you for everything, we still love you.
1,000%, yeah. We love you.
Yeah, no, fair enough. We're tough Canadians. We live at minus 30 degrees. You can't bother us with a little tariff sort of.
All right.
Yeah, if we were an American company, I'd be worried, right? Because everything that we bring in and try to construct, we have to pay extra, 25% on it.
Sure.
But right now, we're in the R&D phase. It's mainly manpower. We're bringing in some cool tech from around the world. But it doesn't really affect us. If we were in lower to medium volume production, then of course it would. But for our current stage, for the next couple of years, the tariffs honestly don't really matter that much to us.
Good. Brandon, before I let you out here today, it's so great to have you. I can't wait to get you in San Diego so we can actually meet face to face at some point and get you in studio. But I have to ask you, with respect to next gen. So let's say in the next 5 years, this is a de rigueur. We're seeing this work. It's going. Is there a pecking order in which you want to take over different verticals in the aviation industry, or is it catch as catch can based upon your next technology that you guys come up with?
Yeah. So if you're talking about mission sets, which I think is the question here, we're essentially it's a helicopter that operates per unit mile at about 70% less cost. And so there's a ton of missions, the people are scrambling to kind of get early orders in now with us for medical evacuation, for example, or emergency medical transport, emergency medical services. So you imagine getting someone to the hospital in, half the time because it goes twice as fast as a typical helicopter, or transporting critical organs or time-sensitive cancer drugs between hospitals in half the time. There's just a huge amount, even in the emergency medical services space. Disaster relief, the thing is hybrid powered. So it operates off the grid. You can fly this into a disaster relief zone. Maybe a hurricane goes through. Yeah. And it can be its own power station. It can set up a telecommunications hub. It can rescue people that are in trouble, just like a helicopter can, except it can deploy twice as fast. Now you think cargo to remote locations. We're looking at all sorts of different missions. On the military side, which is something that has been quite interesting to a number of defense prime contractors. Again, if you had a helicopter that went twice as fast and could carry the same amount of stuff, you're going to be interested in a lot of interesting missions: casualty evacuation, special forces, infill, exfil, that sort of stuff. Really, just a ton of early missions that this aircraft can drop into right now, like tomorrow, if it was ready.
As they like to say, the sky is the limit.
It is the limit.
See what I did there? Yeah. See what I did there?
Brandon Robinson, founder, CEO, Horizon Aircraft. Their ticker symbol is HOVR. Quickly has become one of our favorite guests. Brandon, as always.
Thanks, Brandon.
Can't wait to talk to you again. Hey, listen, there's more to come from here, so keep it here as the Big Biz Show rolls on.
Troika is a brand consulting, creative design, and content group that holds the view that brands are a company's most valuable asset and that the most enduring brands forge strong emotional bonds with audiences and supporters. To assist brands in converting audiences into ardent fans, they adopt a fan-centric perspective that guides the way they think, create, and design. Their craft is a blend of art and strategic thinking to create a holistic and meaningful brand experience that builds highly engaged, loyal audiences. Using immersive live experiences, brand partnerships, PR, social media, and influencer marketing, Mission is a communications company that helps brands stand out by interacting with consumers from a cultural perspective.
To you live from sunny Southern California. Kind of rainy today. It'll be sunny again inside the Loft 100 studios. Costa, Mary Godwin, Greg Todorov. He's our executive producer. Of course, the man with the plan, the man we call Captain Finance here. It is Sully.
Do you know that, to continue this conversation with Howard Font, our lead analyst here, we could be energy efficient with Canada and Mexico and the U.S. And when people talk about renewable energy, they forget about how much renewable energy means to our economy. And I mean in terms of jobs, in terms of, I mean, I know there's an environmental, but if you think in terms of, what did you say, Howard, 4% right now, if I'm not mistaken, 4% of our energy is now renewable energy, and we're thinking that it's 50%, but it's actually 4%, right?
It's 2% of all final energy consumption and 4.5% by the end of 2027.
Well,
so it's growing tremendously, but I mean, doubling in a couple of years, that's great. But it's very, very small as far as final, what actually powers you. Even in California, you only have heavy load days from renewables about 25% of the time. And that's come at like we were talking about in the first segment, large tax subsidies and big expense.
Well, and 12.3 million American jobs. In Ohio, there's almost 1 million jobs. In Texas, of course, you got 3.1 million, and then of course, you're talking about oil and gas production helping to save U.S. Consumers about $2.3 billion annually in terms of what it would cost them if it were clean energy, because clean energy is more expensive.
Yes,
by a lot. So if we were just to transfer to clean energy and put all of our eggs in one basket for the environment. And I think that, and listen, there needs to be some sort of a feathering here of where we are concerned about the environment. At the same time, it would cost us $205 billion more. That is per family, kids. That's $2,500 for a family of 4 more per year for clean energy. Now, there's got to be a way to sort of figure out affordability and clean energy versus the problem that JPMorgan just said in the last break you were talking about, and that's the fact that it's just not working. So, it's not just a narrative here. It's we got to figure out something better. I mean, even the EV issue, in my mind, if you had a bran muffin and a cup of coffee and you're stuck at the Golden Gate Bridge during traffic, you'd be in trouble. You'd be in bigger trouble if everyone was driving an electric vehicle that weighs 7,000 pounds, because I don't think the Golden Gate Bridge can handle the structure. Are you okay on that one?
I love it every time you say it, because I may have been in a situation before. Anyhow, we move on.
Well,
it's true. But here's the thing. Howie and everybody, there is nothing exists that is 100% clean energy. When you look at batteries for electric cars, you look at big blades for the windmills out in the desert. It took petroleum. It took, there was some byproduct that hurt the environment to make that component. And I think that's a hump that a lot of people need to get over.
Well, I mean, there's just got to be, Mary, what are your take on this thing? Because I know that this is a tough one for you.
I mean, I like what you said. I do agree there needs to be a feathering of it. It can't be one or the other. It needs to.
I think that's a good message too. I didn't say that, you said that. It can't be one or the other. That's a great way to think about this. You can't just replace one with the other.
Right.
You can't have all oil like we almost have. We have coal, oil, and natural gas.
To know that we need to do things in the right direction, but it's also important to know what you just said.
Yeah.
That things are hurting the environment no matter which way you go.
Right.
So we got to get smarter about it, probably. Not me, because I don't know.
Have you guys
I'm not the person.
Have you guys seen the movie or the TV show Paradise yet?
No, but everyone talks about it.
It is fantastic, and you can binge it. There's 8 episodes.
Paradise.
And it is about a natural disaster.
Oh, they're living underground.
No, they're not living underground.
Hulu.
They're living inside of a mountain.
Is it Hulu?
Okay,
Don't say it.
Sorry.
It's Hulu and Disney Plus.
I learned so much when I'm here. I didn't know any of these
But the
things.
point is that it talks about environmental disaster, and you start thinking to yourself, yeah, but then you start thinking about your grandkids, okay? And then you start thinking about civilization. There's got to be a tipping. Look at ice melts, okay? I understand. I understand there's climate change. I get it. I'm not sure that we're the entire enemy of climate change. I think that part of it happens, but I think there is a responsibility when you think about the fact that we're inside this little tiny piece of freaking bubble called the atmosphere. Yeah. And if you look over Los Angeles or Dallas, Texas on any given day.
I'm not going to go out and burn a tire on Arbor Day, okay? I realize that
So is that the bar?
That is for me.
Guys,
How do you celebrate Arbor Day?
Can I just explore maybe that? I don't really think this is a conversation. I mean, we call it clean energy, and yeah, solar is clean in that way. But Mike's exactly right. It takes the industry, which takes a lot of oil and heavy machinery and heavy power to create the panels in and of themselves. I don't think this is a environmental thing. I think what's important is that it just doesn't work yet for the economy.
But 50% of the Earth, 50% of the Earth population think it's an environmental thing, and the perception.
No, that's true. That's.
And I think that's why it's worth talking about. I mean, look at just to get the message out to say it's an environmental thing. Do you know what the footprint is for that?
Lithium alone.
I mean, just the footprint
the
in
cobalt
media
mines,
and computer screens and everything else.
Yeah.
Just to get the message out that it's an environmental thing
point.
is blowing energy out.
Yeah.
So I think, Mary, your point, it can't be one or the other. But do we know what it is yet? Is it wind? No. Is it solar? No. Is it electric? No. It needs
nuclear.
I think
it's hydrogen.
I think we know that we have a lot of AI and power and electricity power usage constraints on the economy right now. If we had a lot cheaper electricity, there's a lot we could do with it. There's definitely need for it. Solar was supposed to fix that problem by being easily abundant, and I just think that this report, some of the things that you laid out, Sully, are kind of demonstrating that it's not the end-all be-all. It's good in Nevada, Arizona, California, Florida, but it's just not working in other places in the world. Just as of.
But it also can't just be about jobs. It can't just be about jobs. It's got to be about efficiencies and everything else, and about economies of scale. I think so. Mary, where do you stand on this? I mean,
I don't know.
You have an EV because your wife.
Oh, I think the biggest issue we're running into is what are we going to do with all those spent solar panels? The same thing. What are we going to do with all those spent electric cars?
Yeah.
We didn't, as to use one of your terms, we didn't watch the movie until the end.
Yeah.
We were a little over our skis on this one. I don't know what the answer is. In certain areas, of course, it's going to benefit us. But the problem is there's a lot of waste that's going to fill up our landfills.
Yeah, that's true.
That we have no clue what we're going to do with, right? Yeah. And the same thing with the EVs.
Nor do we know that the stuff that's there now, as it leaches and bleeds out.
Well, Mikey,
said the guy that burnt the tire on Arbor Day.
Right.
Mikey, you hit the nail on the head, because the toxicity of the materials that are being used in all of these things that we're talking about. And don't get me wrong, I'm a pro-environment guy because, I like to surf and everything else, but we have some issues that need to be discussed.
For the tractor tire.
Right. Yeah. Right? Like there's this rush for a solution that we didn't think through.
Howie Font, our market analyst. Thank you very much for joining us.
Mary, we just need to be trying, right?
Yeah.
To make yourself feel better. Yeah. Now I'm off to go club some baby seals. Much more to come with the Big Show.
Out the door of your 1957 Cadillac that's spewing black
smoke. Climate change.
There goes Mike, pulling out of the McDonald's.
I'm out.
Got that baby seal skin with those whale eyes for buttons. Going down the.
Oh my God.
We're back in a minute, Big Biz Show.
From Sunny Southern California, inside the beautiful Loft 100 studios. It is the Big Biz Show. We roll on. Thanks to all of you for rolling with us. Costa, Merber, Godwin, Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully.
10 years ago, on the 20th anniversary of my 30th birthday, I met David D'Arcangelo. David D'Arcangelo is an author and an insurance expert, and the name of the book that he wrote was The Secret Asset. And it has been a few years since you've been on, but I'm glad that we reconnected so you can continue to come on a regular basis, because this is really an interesting sort of investment strategy, retirement strategy, insurance strategy that I guarantee many of you haven't heard of. And when you do, you're going to have a light bulb hit over your head. And I'm just going to let David take it. First of all, it's great to see you. I want to send people to thesecretasset.com immediately to take a look at it. The book, The Secret Asset, is available everywhere. David, I remember when you said to me, when you first pitched the show to our producer at the time, Maureen, I can tell you about tax-free retirement at any age. I thought, okay, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to expose this guy on live national TV. Talk to us. It's great to see you, first of all. And this has been a hallmark of yours for the last decade or more. And you're teaching more and more people how to do this. And I think it's a simple process, but it's something that nobody thinks about.
No, nobody understands it as well as it should. The industry does a terrible job training, insurance salespeople. And life insurance is, as I like to say, is if life insurance had no cost, how much would you buy? Sure. Because most people look at it as an expense. Oh, that's an expense. I'm going to die. You don't have to die.
And what they should be thinking about is look at, you're going to die. You're not going to care.
Exactly.
No, really. Well, you're not going to care. What about your people? How is that going to affect them in terms of everything, including mortgage and including burial costs? But that's not really the idea here. The idea is you're flipped this on its side.
Yeah. You tip it upside down. The tax benefits given to the life insurance industry are absolutely amazing. So just think about this. I get a phone call about a month ago. It's a gentleman, and they did a settlement on an accident or something, and he has some money. Wants to take $250,000 and put it to use. I say, well, let's use a life insurance policy. And he says, well, I don't need a life. I said, wait a second. This is money that you haven't paid taxes on, because there is no taxes on this settlement money. Mm-hmm. If we put it into a life insurance policy by the minimum death benefit, not the maximum, mm-hmm. the money in there will grow. He's 44 years old. It'll grow on a tax-deferred basis and we have less costs. And by the time he gets to retirement age, he takes out about $100,000 a year for 15 years.
Tax-free.
Yeah, tax-free. So he never, the only money that's never been paid taxes on, and he put $250 in and took out, right?
Yeah.
Right, $1 million.
$1.5 million.
Right, $1.5 million, $2 million. Beautiful.
So you're basically making money.
Wait,
I'm looking for the phone number to call right now.
He's right here.
Exactly.
Because what you're basically talking about is, if you're going to die, why do it for free?
That's a great.
And you said that from the very beginning. If you're going to die, why die for free?
Nobody cares more about you than you.
Right.
Right. So another gentleman calls me up yesterday. I had a call with a 41-year-old, has an auto repair business, East County, and has a needs child who has special needs. Uh-huh. And has another, and wants to put things in place. Said, I need some cheap life insurance. And after I said, look, we can sell you cheap life insurance, term insurance, and you're 30 years, you're 41 years old, it'll be over, and you'll have spent $85,000 at $2,800 a year.
Right.
And you'll be 71 years old, you'll be 14 years from average life expectancy, and you'll have no insurance.
Right.
I said, so why don't you do it this way? Similar, overfund it, put some money in, put $14,000 a year in for 20 years. I said, and then you can take the money out, $100,000 a year for income later on. Tax.
What do you say to people that say buy term insurance and invest the difference versus having a life insurance policy handle your investment for you?
So I say that I do that.
And by the way, do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Because he's talking about buying a life insurance policy that has a growth benefit to your premium.
Right.
So in other words, this piece of the pie goes to the premium, this piece of the pie goes to administration, this piece of the pie goes to your investment, right?
Yeah.
And it's handled by investment professionals. Or I buy a really low monthly, and let's say that's $400 a month.
Yeah.
Or I buy a $100 a month policy just that covers this life insurance policy and a little bit of administration, but I take that extra $300 and invest it. How many people actually take that extra $300 and invest it? Is the problem?
No.
They don't.
Right.
Hey, if you think it works good on a 41-year-old, a 44-year-old, a 50-year-old, or whatever.
How about an 80-year-old?
How about an 80-year-old? That's in my book, and the secret asset I talk about is.
This is the thing that I want you to hear.
My dad, the old Italian family. So you buy policies
on your elders.
If you're going to die, what did you say at the beginning of the show?
Why die for free?
Why die for free? So look, my dad buys a policy on his dad. We buy a policy on my dad.
And the amount of money that you put in for premium versus the life benefit, you follow what I'm saying? Why this is a hard conversation? So it is a non-taxable event.
So you buy a $2 million policy. You got a couple $100,000 into it, maybe.
Well, let's talk about that because so my parents are 96 and 85. If I were to buy a life insurance policy, it'd be a rated policy. I'd probably be paying $100,000 a year for it. However, what if the life benefit was $500,000 a piece?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the actuary rates, my parents are not going to live another 10 years. Yeah. I will have $600,000 into that policy, and I will net $2 million. You see do you see the uncomfortable conversation? However, mathematically, and this is the secret asset team,
right?
And this is what you came up with. And I know that I'm going to get a million emails like I always do on you. How do you have that conversation? Because obviously, when you talk about how money can be made, set it and forget it, life insurance. Now, look, if you're a day trader like me and you geek out on this stuff, like Mike geeks out on the sports pages, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But 95% of this country is not in that category. 95% of the country is in the category of, I just want to forget about it. Most of you don't know what's in your 401ks anyway.
Yeah.
Life insurance has a three-punch. A, you have life insurance. B, you're investing money without even knowing it. C, it's tax-free.
Yeah.
What about the conversation that you have with, hey, mom, dad, I want to take out a $2 million policy at my expense?
So the classic Italian East Coast dad, I talk about it in the book is, hey, dad, my brothers and I, we want to buy a life insurance policy on you. And so that we can, when you pass, we want to start a generational trend of that generation leaves money to the next generation.
Which can create a family office, generational wealth.
That's right. So it all happened. So we did it, paid off at Grandpa's when Grandpa died. My dad got it. My dad we had bought a policy on my dad, then he died, then we got the money. We have our kids buy policies on us. So your money, you're putting up 25% of what you're going to receive, and what you receive is tax-free.
You hear the wheels spinning?
And everybody...
Quiet, we're just listening.
Yeah, everybody wants to benefit their kids and the next generation. Sometimes money is an issue. But I always say to kids, hey, let's just do what you can afford. Can you afford $10,000 a year to pay in the premium for a $400,000 policy?
Mike's shaking like he has that Funyuns in 6 hours.
David DiArcangelo, author of The Secret Asset. The website is thesecretasset.com. Also, by the way, former All-American running back at the University of Redlands. Hello.
Hey. Beautiful campus, by the way.
Yeah.
Hold on. So here's my question. Underwriters for policy for insurance companies.
Right.
And look, there's a certain time you can't get insurance. I'm sure my 96-year-old dad's not going to get insurance. But what I'm saying is, so let's say you have parents who are in their 70s and 80s, very insurable.
Yeah.
They're willing to take the premium in exchange for, because look at insurance companies have a big pool of life benefit, but a bigger pool of premiums coming in. That's why they're willing to do this, correct?
So term insurance, there's term insurance and there's permanent insurance. Mm-hmm. Term insurance, like the 41-year-old, right? It's $2,800 a year.
Yeah.
But
But you're counting on yourself to invest the difference.
Yeah, it's over just about when you really need insurance.
Exactly right.
Right?
Yeah, because it's a level term, meaning that you're done being insured at age 70, about the time you got to start thinking about it.
Do you know the percentage of people who actually cash in and get the life insurance benefit or term insurance is 2%?
Wow.
The insurance company pays 2%. On a permanent policy, you would think, now let's buy a permanent policy that lasts your lifetime. What percentage of the people do you think stick around and actually get paid out of it?
What is that?
It's 78%.
Wow.
88% of the people quit. They quit and lose their money. 12% of the people.
We'll stick it out.
Collect. So what do you want to be? The insurance company.
I want to be the insurance company.
The 88% who quit and lose their money pay the 12% who stay. You want to be the ones who stay and not the ones who leave.
So I take out policies on my parents, and then I take them to see the cliffs of Dover and just give them a little. And I get paid.
You got to wait a year, I think.
Oh, I do?
You can't get caught.
Is that in the book?
Yeah.
David, will you please come back on a regular basis?
I will.
It's so great to see you. David Dark.
Thank you very much.
Give them the website and everything else.
The website is thesecretasset.com. Check it out. This book is going to help you.
More Big Biz coming up. By the way, Mike,
Loft 100 Studios, The Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullyentgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Hey, is that a rescue plane?
Big Biz Show rolls on in over 175 countries, all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network. As always, to our brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces, thank you for what you do. What you have done for us inside the Loft 100 Studios, we roll on. Costa, Marybird Godwin, Greg Tataroff, and of course our fearless leader, Sully.
Who do we have here? The author of Chasing Relevance, Don't Chase Relevance as the Next Gen Leader. Create it, Dan Negroni. Of course, dannegroni.com, CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer, and the only person still in the country that's actually talking about the on-ramp of next gen and the off-ramp of old people like us.
Boy, and it's going strong. It continues to pay dividends.
Remember when you said to us 10 years ago or 8 years ago that X percent of our customers and our clients are
75%.
Yep. Say that.
75% of our workers are Gen Z and Millennials. And guess what? They are our customers too.
Yeah.
So we better listen to them.
So are we becoming slowly that the old guard is now becoming the minority,
There's no
so to speak?
slow about it anymore.
Yes,
so
we're done.
We're in it.
We have met the enemy and it is us.
I think, yes.
Talk about, I see more and more what we used to call team building. In fact, here in Loft 100, we're going to put together, and we've been talking about it, but it's actually kind of taking hold here, I guess you'd call it team building exercise, which we're calling experience, because if you look in this TV studio, you have one of each.
Yep.
You got a CEO type, you got the quiet type in the front, the guy with the clipboard, in a TV studio, it represents every single personality type in an office environment, I think. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to create one of those leadership coaching here by having them create their own content, by shadowing our people here. And that's the first half of the day. Second half of the day, CEO's getting coffee, and the lady that is quiet and demure is actually hosting whatever. And
wow.
Yeah, and that's Dr. Heidi Hanna, who I think you know, came up with that. Talk about why leadership coaching is so important. Because
I think
we leave this alone. I think we just think it's a luxury.
Well, here's the deal: the largest leadership deficit ever. I think it costs us $7 trillion in the U.S. alone, $25,000 per employee in lost efficiency because we're not connecting and we don't have tools to let the next generation step up to be leaders. We're not teaching them.
Are those young professionals lacking leadership qualities, or are they just stuck in their career, or is it all the above?
Yes. I love when you ask me these questions. Certainly both.
So broad.
Yes. 67% of HR professionals tell you that the young generation don't have the skills to flourish in the workplace. And the big skill is what? What do you think the biggest skill is?
Communication.
Communication, right.
Yeah.
Building relationships first with yourself, then with others, and communication. And it's the biggest skill, and I'm going to use a technical term here, we suck at teaching it to our young people. And so we got to figure out a way to do it. And being a college professor now, could add that to my list. I see it on the daily, but they're coachable.
Okay, how do you feel do you know what mastermind means? When you hear mastermind breakouts and coaching?
I've heard of it, but I don't know exactly.
I don't either. And the interesting part is, I know you do. That's what I'm asking. I mean, because if I do a keynote, I'm doing a keynote and a Q&A, but I'm not breaking out into groups.
Well, I would say this show is a mastermind. What a mastermind is a collective of peers or individuals that come together to bring their ideas to help each other become as good as they can. So peer masterminds, YPO, Vistage, some people the young people just creating them themselves out of influencers, a real estate affinity group, those things, provisors. Those are masterminds. We take all of our ideas, we discuss them, we process issues, and we get to the better result.
Yeah, and I think the piece of this is that what sets it apart is that you're leveraging strengths, as you've always said, of the people that you have on the stage and the people that you have watching from the crowd.
Yeah, it's about being one. You guys do this every day, being one with the audience.
Yeah, I think so.
Dan Negroni, CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer, also a college professor. DanNegroni.com is the website. How big is the chasm between the boss who is, I don't care about the labor pains, just show me the baby, and the boss who is, oh, how are you? Do you just want to spend your whole day in the
that's a great question, because it seems like young workers want that.
Is it a fine line, or is it?
The question the same way. Yes.
Okay.
Here's the deal. There's a big chasm, and old folks that think they've done it, they put in their time. What connection, relationships, building, mentorship, teaching, masterminds? It takes one thing: time. And the older people don't want to put in the time. They want everyone to come to them all trained. But guess what? Because we suck at training it.
There's no training.
And so the workplace has to train it.
Yeah.
And so the chasm's big, but the ability to think about it as a problem and be open and vulnerable to wanting to solve it, I think is bigger these days than it used to be.
Dan, Mike's just mentioned college professor. When you're in your courses and you have your course curriculum, how do these intersect?
Yeah, so
with your I guess.
Great
syllabus.
question. So the question is, how do you design a program to teach the audience? Right, the audience is the hero of everything you do, just like on this show. And so the audience are my students, and they're the hero. And so I have to figure out how to teach them, but how to get them to learn. So I have to identify the gap, and then play to it and explain it to them.
Dan Negroni for president once again. A little short on time today. Once again, gives you Chasing Relevance. Is there another book coming?
Maybe.
Well, there's a mastermind class coming, I can tell you that. DanNegroni.com. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you coming as always. More Big Biz coming up. Stand by.